Claude Code is now 100% free, and in this video, I'm going to show you exactly how to set it up and start building real projects today without paying a single dollar. Open VS Code, create a new folder in your project, and name it .claude. Inside that folder, create a new file and call it settings.json.local. This file is what allows you to configure Claude Code locally for each project without changing anything globally on your machine. This matters because every project you build can have its own model, its own API key, its own settings, completely separate from each other. Inside that file, you're going to paste a simple JSON configuration. You need three things in this file: the API key helper, which points to your OpenRouter key, the base URL, which is the OpenRouter API endpoint, and the model name, which is the free model you want to use. Do not worry about memorizing any of this. Everything I mentioned in this video will be in the description, so you can copy and paste directly. Now open your browser and go to openrouter.ai. Create a free account if you do not have one already. Once you are logged in, click on your profile picture in the top right corner. Go to Settings, then go to API Keys. Click Create New Key. Give it any name you want. Something like Claude Code Free works fine. Click Create and then copy the key that gets generated. Go back to VS Code, open your settings file, and paste that key in the right place. Save the file. Now you need to pick a free model. Go back to OpenRouter and click on Models in the navigation. In the search bar, type the word free. OpenRouter will filter and show you every model that is available at zero cost. There are actually quite a few good ones. For coding specifically, two of the best options right now are the NVIDIA model and Minimax M2.5. Minimax M2.5 is a newer model and it handles longer context really well, which becomes important when you're working on real features with multiple files. Copy the model ID exactly as it appears. Go back to your settings file and paste it in the model field. Save. That is the entire setup. 3 fields in one file. API key, base, URL, model name. Open a new terminal in VS Code and type Claude and hit enter. Claude Code will launch. Go to the model selector inside Claude Code and you will see your free model listed there. Select it, type hi and send it. You will get a response back instantly. Now go back to OpenRouter, click on Activity and then Logs, and you will see your request right there. And look at the cost column. It shows $0. You're now running Claude Code completely free with no subscription and no usage fees. Now here's where I need to slow down because getting the free setup working is the easy part. The part that actually determines whether you ship something real or spend hours frustrated and going in circles is what comes after. Most people get the free setup done and immediately start typing big, vague prompts into Claude and then wonder why the output keeps breaking. Or why Claude fixes one thing and breaks something else. That is not a model problem. That is a workflow problem. And I want to give you the 3 things that will completely change how you build with AI, so you are actually shipping and not just generating code that looks impressive for 5 minutes. The first thing is keeping your file structure modular. This is the single most important thing you can do when building with AI, and almost nobody talks about it. Here is what is actually happening when you use Claude Code. Claude is reading your files, loading them into something called a context window, and then generating a response based on everything it can see. The context window has a limit. When your files are too large, Claude has to spend more of that context window just holding your code, and it has less room to think clearly about what to change and how to change it. The result is Claude starts making assumptions. It starts repeating itself. It makes a change in one place that quietly breaks something in another place, and because the file is 800 lines long, you do not even notice until 3 sessions later when something completely different stops working. The fix is straightforward. Keep every file under 300 lines of code. Each file should do exactly one thing, one component, one utility, one root handler, one service. When files are small, Claude reads the entire file instantly. It understands the complete scope of what it is working with. It writes tighter code. It makes fewer mistakes. And when something does go wrong, you know exactly which file to look at, because each file has a single clear responsibility. This is not just good for AI, by the way. This is how every serious production application is built. Small focused files with clear separation of concerns. The difference is that when you're working with AI, this principle becomes non-negotiable because you are moving faster and the consequences of messy structure pile up much quicker. Here is what I recommend you do. Create a file at the root of your project called claude.nimby. This is a special file that Claude Code reads automatically at the start of every session. In that file, write a simple rule. Keep all files under 300 lines of code. If a file grows beyond that, break it into smaller focused modules. Once that rule is in your claude.md file, you never have to say it again in any prompt. Claude will follow it automatically for every single task in that project. This one habit alone will save you hours of debugging. The second thing is understanding what you are building before you write a single prompt. This is the thing that separates people who actually ship products from people who keep starting over. Most people have an idea, and they immediately open Claude and start typing. Build me a booking app, build me a task manager, build me a SaaS dashboard, and Claude will generate something. It will look good. You will feel like you're moving fast. Then you try to add a real feature or connect real users, and things start falling apart in ways that are hard to trace back and fix. The reason this happens is not because Claude is bad. The reason is you never gave Claude an accurate picture of what the real requirements were. And the reason you could not give Claude that picture is because you did not have it yourself yet. You knew what you wanted the app to do, but you had not thought through how it actually needs to work under the surface. Let me give you a real example. Say you are building an app where multiple users can update shared data at the same time. A collaborative whiteboard, a shared document, a team calendar where anyone can make changes. If you do not know what a race condition is, you will never mention it when prompting Claude. You will build the feature, you will test it yourself, and it will work perfectly because you are testing alone. You will ship it. Then 2 users will click, save a T, the exact same moment, and one of their changes will silently disappear without any error message. You will spend hours trying to figure out why. And the answer is that the problem should have been addressed from the very beginning when you were writing the first prompt for that feature. The AI will never protect you from problems you do not know to ask about. That is just the reality of how this works. Claude is incredibly powerful, but it responds to what you tell it. If you do not mention something, it will not handle it. Your job in this entire process is not to write code. Your job is to understand your application clearly enough to describe what it needs to do accurately and completely. You do not need to know syntax. You do not need to be a senior developer. But you do need to understand the data flows in your application. You need to know who can access what. You need to think about what happens when 2 things happen at the same time. What happens when the network fails mid-request? What happens when a user does something unexpected or enters invalid data? Before you open Claude for any new project or any significant new feature, sit down and write it out in plain English first. What does this feature need to do? Who is using it? Which T are the steps from start to finish? What can go wrong at each step? What should happen when something goes wrong? This thinking process does not need to take long. Even 15 or 20 minutes of honest thinking before you start prompting will completely change the quality of what Claude generates and how stable it is when real users start using it. The third thing is 1 task per session test, then push to GitHub. This is the workflow that will save you more time than anything else, and it is the one most people skip because it feels slow even though it is actually the fastest way to build. Before you write the first prompt for any new project, create a plan file. You can call it plan.md or tasks.md. In this file, write out every feature you want to build. Then take each feature and break it down into the smallest tasks you possibly can. Not implement user authentication. Instead, create the sign-up form UI. Then connect the form to the back-end endpoint. Then add input, validation. Then add the error messages. Then add the loading state during submission. Then add the redirect after successful login. Each one of those is 1 task. Each task is 1 session with Claude. 1 session means you open Claude. You work on exactly 1 task from your list. You do not move to the next task until the current task is completely done and working. You test it manually yourself. You click through it. You make sure it actually works the way it should. Then you stop. You commit everything to GitHub with a clear message describing what you just built. You push, and only then do you move on to the next task. Now, let me explain why the GitHub step after every single task is not optional. Claude will break things. I'm not saying this to criticize Claude. I am saying it because that is just the nature of moving fast with AI assistance. You're making changes quickly across multiple files. Sometimes a change in one file creates an unexpected problem somewhere else. Sometimes Claude misunderstands part of the context and writes something that looks correct but is subtly wrong. These things happen. They are going to happen no matter what model you use. The question is, how bad is the damage when it does happen? If you have been committing to GitHub after every completed task, your worst case scenario is you roll back and you lose 1 task worth of work, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. You start that task over with a clearer prompt and you keep moving. If you have not been committing, you might lose 4 hours of work. You might have changes across 20 files that are all tangled together and you have no clean state to go back to. At that point, most people just start the project over completely and all that momentum is gone. This workflow is especially important when you are using free models. Free models are genuinely impressive for what they cost, but they are not as consistent as the largest paid models in complex situations with lots of context. They make slightly more mistakes. They are slightly more likely to miss something subtle. The 1 task per session workflow compensates for this completely because you are checking the output after every small change. You catch mistakes before they compound. You are never more than one small task away from a clean working state. The free setup stops feeling like a limitation and starts feeling completely solid. The developers who ship the fastest with AI are not the ones who trust Claude the most and let it run for hours without checking. They are the ones who move in small steps and verify constantly. That is the actual fast path. So here's everything you need to go from zero to building real projects today, completely free. Go to openrouter.ai and create a free account. Generate an API key. Create a Claude folder in your VS Code project with a settings.json.local file inside it. Add your API key, the OpenRouter base URL, and the ID of a free model like Minimax M2.5. Open a terminal type Claude, and you are running Claude Code at zero cost. From there, set up your project with small focused files under 300 lines each, and put that rule in a claude.demd file at the root of your project, so Claude follows it automatically every session. Before you start prompting, spend time understanding what you are actually building. Write it out in plain English. Think through the edge cases. Think through what can go wrong. Give Claude an accurate and complete picture of what each feature needs to do. Then work through your project one task at a time. Test after every task. Commit to GitHub after every task. Stay in full control of your code base at every step of the process. That is it. Free setup. Modular file structure. Clear thinking before prompting. One task per session with GitHub backups at every step. This is exactly how I built a full cardio workout generator application in about an hour. And it is how you can build your project or your business starting today. The tools are free. The workflow is simple. You have everything you need right now. Open VS Code and start.